Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Because look, if you or someone you know has ever stared blankly at a math textbook and felt like it was literally written in some alien language, you're absolutely not alone. Today, we're unpacking a masterclass approach to teaching mathematics. We're going to explore a highly structured pedagogical framework developed by Mohammad Usam, MPhil Mathematics, over at the Education Point Academy of Science. This whole system is specifically designed to take one of the most notoriously confusing topics in high school math, complex numbers, and make it totally clear and approachable.
So 20. That isn't just some random number or a trendy new lesson plan someone brainstormed overnight. This framework is the pure distillation of over 20 years of on-the-ground teaching experience. Mohammad Usman has spent 2 decades refining exactly how to teach Class 10 students, specifically those gearing up for rigorous board exams. He's figured out exactly how the teenage brain processes abstract mathematical concepts, and he has essentially reverse-engineered a process to build rock-solid, consistent understanding.
Have you ever actually wondered how master teachers make the impossible seem so simple? Like, how do they take a student who is completely terrified of equations and transform them into a confident problem solver? If you've ever struggled to grasp abstract concepts, like the idea of an imaginary number, which frankly sounds like something made up just to torture students, right? This framework acts as the ultimate blueprint. It's really a masterclass in total comprehension, proving that there are no impossibly hard math problems, just missing conceptual stepping stones.
For our explainer today, our roadmap mimics a master teacher's chalkboard. We're going to cover 1. The Master Pedagogy Framework, 2. Building the core concepts, 3. Solving with step-by-step logic, 4. Avoiding common student mistakes, and finally, 5. Final revision and practice.
Right, let's jump straight into Section 1, the Master Pedagogy Framework.
Let's unpack the overarching philosophy that drives this entire methodology. The core mandate of this framework at the Education Point Academy of Science is beautifully simple but profoundly impactful. Teach, not just solve. Too often, math is taught by a teacher just silently writing a solution on a board for students to frantically copy. Not here. Usman demands that every single mathematical step is explained using simple, plain English suitable for a Class 10 student. Calculations are never ever skipped. The goal is to foster deep understanding over rote memorization. Basically, if you can't explain why you did a step in plain English, you haven't actually learned the math.
Moving right along to Section 2, Building the Core Concepts.
So let's see how this builds the absolute foundation before a single complex equation is even touched. You literally can't build a house on quicksand. Usman's framework mandates defining the core vocabulary right out of the gate. Before asking students to solve anything, he establishes the imaginary unit, represented by the lowercase letter I. He ensures students understand exactly what this fundamental unit is, and mathematically explains exactly why I squared equals -1. It's all about completely removing the mystery right at the starting line.
And this next part, this brilliantly illustrates what he calls the life cycle of I. Instead of making students memorize endless, boring lists of powers, the framework reveals a repeating cyclic pattern. I to the first power is I squared is -1, I cubed is -I, and I to the fourth power is +1. Once a student sees this neat little 4-step loop, they're taught a simple trick. Just use the remainder after dividing any exponent by 4, and you can instantly simplify any power of I, no matter how massive the number is. It completely transforms a scary calculation into a basic division problem.
Visual organization is also a huge part of this pedagogy. By strictly formatting important rules inside separate, highly visible boxes, like this fundamental rule showing how the square root of a negative number is rewritten using the imaginary unit I, visual retention is massively increased. When a student is sitting in a high-stress board exam, their brain can literally picture that exact box from their notes.
Okay, Section 3, Solving with step-by-step logic.
Now that the conceptual foundation is laid, this is where the rubber really meets the road, and we transition from theory to the actual practice of tackling textbook exercises. When simplifying questions, the framework acts as a strict set of guardrails. Students aren't just asked to magically find the answer, they are instructed to follow these strict rules. Show every single step clearly. Next to the step, mention the specific mathematical rule used. Then, explain why that rule was applied. Finally, highlight the final answer cleanly in a box. This forces the student to slow down, justify their logic, and treat math as a coherent language rather than some wild guessing game.
When it comes to finding unknown variables like x and y, Usman introduces a brilliant way to understand the equality of complex numbers. He teaches students to split the problem into 2 parallel tracks.
You compare the real part of the equation to the real part, and the imaginary part to the imaginary part. By comparing these two separate realities, students are able to easily form and solve simultaneous equations without getting the different types of numbers all tangled up.
Next up, Section 4, Avoiding Common Student Mistakes.
So what separates a standard run-of-the-mill lesson from a true masterclass? It's the specific interventions built directly into the learning process. Here is where Usman's 2 decades of experience really shine. After every single question in the exercise, the framework requires these 3 elements to be reviewed: a short remember note recalling the core concept, an explicit mention of the common mistakes students make at that exact point in the problem, and a quick shortcut if one exists. This just proves that a veteran educator knows exactly where the potholes are on this road. He doesn't wait for you to fall in. He points them out right after you pass them so you can correct your course immediately.
Finally, we arrive at Section 5, Final Revision and Practice.
This is exactly how the framework transforms a single math lesson into a comprehensive, robust toolkit. Usman caps off the conceptual learning with highly organized revision notes. You don't just finish the chapter and slam the book shut. You consolidate. You gather all the important formulas, the power cycle of I we discussed earlier, the specific exponent rules, the concepts of equality, and most importantly, specific tips for frequently asked board exam questions. Basically, everything you need to review the night before a test is perfectly synthesized in one place.
And the crucial point here is this rigorous final assessment matrix. Notice how it purposefully escalates in difficulty. It starts with 10 basic multiple-choice questions to test baseline concepts, then 10 short questions for standard application. Then it pushes you with 5 board-style long questions that require real endurance and step-by-step logic. Finally, it tests total mastery with 5 higher-order thinking questions. It's literally a complete, full-body workout for the mathematical mind.
By completely deconstructing Mohammed Usman's highly structured pedagogical framework from the Education Point Academy of Science, we've seen exactly how abstract complexity can be broken down into transparent, totally logical steps. It really isn't about being naturally good at math. It's about having the right system. So the only question left to ask yourself is, armed with these methods, are you ready to apply these steps and conquer the world of complex numbers yourself?